All right, the news we were waiting for at 10 o'clock. I don't think we were massively surprised. Lossiemouth won't run in the Champion Hurdle. She will run in the Mayor's Hurdle. Willie Mullins had said that it was a 2-year plan to run in the Champion Hurdle. He didn't deviate from that after she fell at the Dublin Racing Festival. But Rich Ritchie sent out the smoke signal in a Sun preview earlier this week, and that has been confirmed. She will run in the Mayor's Hurdle. Noel George, you can have first go at this. Right decision or wrong decision?
Me, personally, I think it's the right decision. For me, she's better over 2.5 miles than 2 miles. So that'd be where I'd base my opinion on. Obviously, everyone wants to have all the horses in the big race, but for me, she's better over 2.5 miles, so it makes complete sense.
It's purely a distance thing.
Well, I mean, it's obviously cut up, but for me, that's her trip, so it makes sense.
And I suppose the other point is, Barry, is she a gimme in the Mayor's Hurdle?
It possibly is, but I would agree with Noel, and to me it's a little bit like when Honeysuckle went for the Mayor's and not for the Champion Hurdle. We all wanted to go for the Champion Hurdle, but when she got beaten in Leopardstown on the lead up to it, that was the right decision. When she got beaten at Christmas, I was in Leopardstown and I was talking to Patrick afterwards, and he had Stateman as their lead contender. So
he's always beaten that drum, to be fair, hasn't he?
Yeah. So for him to be so definite about it, for Paul to make the choices that have always been with Stateman over Lossiemouth, suggests she would be number 2. So if I was in the camp, I'd be thinking this is the right decision. You know, Brighter Days Ahead, as I mentioned earlier, has put her hat in the ring with that performance at Leopardstown. So it's good that they're following through on it. But I could understand, on the other hand, why they've ducked with Lossiemouth.
And, of course, we can talk about this with blue in the face, Jonathan, and really, ultimately underline this. If you want to see them all in the Champion Hurdle, you have to change the conditions of the Mayor's Hurdle.
Yeah, ultimately. And with my logical hat on, it's absolutely the right call because of the trip, because of what happened last time, because the Mayor's...
We don't want your logical hat, we want your emotional hat here. This is talking points.
With my emotional hat on, I would have loved to have seen her in a Champion Hurdle, obviously, because she would have added something to that race.
She's not. She's in the Mayor's Hurdle. Right, let's talk about the crowds. Now, Guy Lavender, the new CEO at Cheltenham, he's fired a shot ahead of the meeting, which I think is sound thinking, managing expectations. He wants to get people in, but he's saying, look, our crowds are going to be smaller than they were last year. And you can't really judge Cheltenham on that, because last year there were a lot of issues, which has meant naturally this year's crowd's going to be smaller because a lot of people will have been put off by the experience last year. You judge them on what they do this year into next year, surely. But why do you think the crowds are down, Barry?
Look, there's an expense issue, but there is also, people don't have the loose change in their pocket as much as they would have done beforehand. It is a tighter time for people, and you have to respect that. But there is a narrative too. And the narrative is, to me, there's a bit of a roller coaster here on this whole thing. And you bring in the Benidorm factor as well. Like God, if you want to go to Benidorm, go to Benidorm.
Would I want to be in Benidorm thing? And we've been as guilty as anyone of fanning the flames because it was an entertaining story last week. But isn't it? It's a sidebar. Isn't it? That's not the main piece.
But the flames are being fanned in more than one regard. So Cheltenham is Cheltenham. It's where you want to be. And, you know, Guy has done brilliant work, I believe, at the cricket, and his agenda is to improve the experience. And he guarantees you'll have a better experience. He's recognising that the numbers are going to be slightly down. But I know from I work with the Jockey Club as well, and, you know, that's the team they've taken with staff on the racecourse, is improve the experience. Where can we find improvement in the experience? So if that brings improvement, that's going to improve the numbers as well. So yeah, I think he's playing the game over a couple of years, and I think he will get it back going again and change that narrative.
And I'll be fascinated. People talk about price of beer and price of food and price of hotels. I'll be fascinated to see whether that whole, you know, friendly welcome as you walk in, which they really drummed into the team at Aintree, and it worked, will work at Cheltenham. It's amazing what a smile will do for people, isn't it, Noel?
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, it's Cheltenham is Cheltenham, and the people who are passionate will be there, you know. Obviously, I think it's not so much the racecourse can't do much about it. It's exterior costs like hotels and stuff are obviously a massive factor. So I think the market will adjust itself. If they have less people playing that price, then the price is going to have to drop for hotels and etc. So it will put itself back in place, I think.
Okay. And how does it feel as a Gloucestershire boy to be back?
Yeah, well, the crowds at Cheltenham are very different to O'Toy. We're pretty empty most of the time.
Are you still going to get cheered like a local if you have a winner?
I hope so. The local pub said if you have a winner, it can go on the wall. So yeah, we're still very much a local. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Monsieur Georges. Right. 20 runner restrictions. This is the idea that JP McManus floated in an article that he wrote for the Racing Post earlier in the season and has come back again this week, because it seems as though the executive are perhaps thinking about this, that maximum field sizes could be reduced. The idea being that if you reduce the field size, you make it more competitive because people would have to show their hand more in the early part of the season, so it has a knock-on effect. Jonathan, do you like or don't you like?
I like it. I think it's quite a sensible solution, actually. I don't think it's a safety element or anything like that. I think
is there a problem that needs solving?
No, I think it's a tweak rather than a wholesale change. I think anything that makes the racing more competitive pre-Cheltenham, with horses perhaps having to have those extra runs to get in and earn their place, I think that has to be a positive for jumps racing, full stop. And if the races on the day are more competitive as a result, all the better.
Do you like it, Barry, or is it like, well, hang on a minute, this is our great festival of the year, we want as many people to compete as possible and get as many owners in the parade ring as we can?
Yeah, and that was my initial thought, but no, I can see the sense in it. I think it does. It offers more for the build-up. We can't make everything about Cheltenham because it has snowballed a little bit that way over the years. I won't say more than a little bit. So you see the Imperial Cup there, competitive fields. You need to see those competitive fields on the build-up. But like JP put this forward, and it was going to work negatively against him because he would have half a dozen runners, but maybe he'll have 4 now because 6 of them, the other 2 won't get in. So he's thinking bigger picture.
Not at the rate his horses keep getting better and better and better, though. That's the other thing.
Yeah, maybe, but that's a year-on-year thing. He's a mad strong team this year. Mightn't be the case next year, the year after. But I do think if you have 25 or 6 runners, the last horse out the gate, does it really have a chance? Unless it's Absurd, who was obviously Absurd winning the county.
He might be Absurd again, mightn't he?
Could very easy, yeah. But I think it just might have happened, and albeit he didn't want slow ground, I think he benefited from that on the pace of the race and the test of stamina was. On better ground, I'm not sure his jumping will be as sharp as might be needed to win that race.
You got a lot of content in there. Right, how many winners is Willie Mullins going to have? We can keep these quite quick. How many then do you think, Noel?
Oh, God. I can't say off the top of my head, but, he's obviously going to have an amazing week. For me, someone said to me, if
I set the line between 9 and 10, are we buying or selling?
Selling.
OK, so you think fewer than 9?
Yeah. I think the British have got a pretty strong hand compared to most years. For me, I saw there was a price on Britain to have 10 or more winners. It was 5 to 1. I think that'd be a good bet.
Really?
Yeah.
Because wasn't it 10? It was 10 2 years ago, wasn't it? 10 3 years ago. I think 9 last year, but they had 1 fewer race. Yeah. That is a big price, but still, I imagine a Mullins route. Do you?
I'd imagine, but your ducks always don't fall in line as well. 8 is a big score.
Except his do, though, don't they? When he's had all these horses of 2 to 1 or less, or 6 to 4 or less at the festival, they nearly always win. They do, a lot of them, but you would have to win handicaps as well, I think, to get into double digits. Yeah. And as I say, Absurd for 1. Cargies is 1 in the county as well. She's not in the mares. You just don't know. Lady Luck plays a part too. Okay, so put a number on. How many do you reckon he'll have? Well, you wish Willie all the success in the world, but you'd love to see 8 on a better spread. So sorry, Willie, I'm talking down. Well, sorry, Willie, he only wants you to have 8 winners at the Cheltenham Festival. I think just the 8. One thing, I think the Dublin Racing Festival has changed, because a lot of people leading up to that were saying his novices maybe weren't as good as they all thought. And then suddenly Final Demand came out. So it's, obviously he's got a seriously strong team, but to be getting that number, you have to not miss her. Right, we can just keep rolling this on. Because the next topic is Ireland versus GB versus France. So what do you think the split's going to be? I don't know exact figures, but I think Britain will be closer. I think my sense is that the British team is stronger this year, and particularly in the handicaps has a few good chances. There's a few horses on nice weights in there that I think will go well. And obviously Nicky Henderson's kind of leading the front on those big races with the John Bonds and Constitution Hill. So I think it will be close. I don't think it will be quite the sort of disaster territory it was a few years ago. I think we only had 27 races last year because they had no cross country, and it was 18-9, and Nicky Henderson didn't turn up. So 10 seems reasonable to me. I think it's particularly at 5 to 1. 10 British winners, I don't think is. I'm going to have to get this checked. I might get it wrong. Because that. Are you going to lay that one?
No, I mean, one thing I was saying yesterday at Auteuil was my dream is to see that written as a talking point.
Was a 3.
And, you know, I think France now, if we can try and, you know, we're sourcing a lot of these good horses. You look at all the French-bred horses, and, you know, I think if we can get momentum behind us and with support from owners, with sourcing the good horses, because that's why we're in France. Well, I'm in France. One of the main reasons is it's an advantage to find these good, smart horses.
Hang on, Ireland have nicked all Britain's good owners already, so are you just going to nick all the rest? Well, so the scores are going to be like Ireland 10, France 10, Britain 3 or something.
And then the French are there saying they've nicked all our horses. So, yeah, we've got to try and make France strong. And, you know, the proof is in the pudding with a horse like Le Francais. You know, they have the firepower, but we just got to try and keep it, and then we can compete on the big stage, hopefully.
I can feel the entente cordiale cooling. I was going to ask you at the beginning of the day if you think in French. You clearly do.
Yeah, I do a little bit, yeah.
Do you actually think in French now?
Yeah, sometimes I have to. What's that in English? But yeah, no, it's yeah.
Oh well, it could be 2 for the French this week for sure. Maybe even 3. And what about JP McManus's team? We talked about Stencil. We've talked a little bit about John Bond. We haven't really talked about the Gold Cup and the way he's played his big staying chasers. This time last year, Barry, the man for whom you rode so many Grade 1 winners, it looked as though he would have maybe 4 or 5 Gold Cup contenders. He's distilled it to, I know the way you're thinking, the supplementary in Corbett's Cross, and Factor Fire's gone to the Ryanair. Does that give him the best chance in those 2 races? And how much do you like his chances of taking down Galopin Des Champs?
Well, he obviously feels it does. So, and he knows the horses and their form, and no better judge of targeting a race at Cheltenham. So, but does it still improve the chances of dethroning Galopin Des Champs? I'm not so sure. I think he's a worthy favourite. He's the real deal. I know the way you're thinking is a smart horse. He's a good winner there last year. He obviously would have a brilliant chance in the Grand National. But I suppose the slight negative for me is what mark will the Gold Cup leave on his Grand National chances? That's the concern I'd have. It's hard to target both of those meetings, or both of those races, should I say, over those extreme trips.
I've always got the feeling, Jonathan, that Gavin Cromwell has really wanted to run him in a Gold Cup. That was his sort of, really what, in his heart, he felt the horse was.
Yeah, and you can see why, and I think he certainly deserves to be there. And the challenge in behind Galopin Des Champs perhaps isn't that strong, so there's every chance he'll run very well and perhaps finish 2nd or 3rd. I just think that the gap to Galopin Des Champs is much too big.
And I was looking at, again, Lee's brilliant article in the Post today with JP. He wants to win the races he's never won before. So he wants the Arkle, he wants the Champion Chase, he wants the 2 mares races. What was the other one? The Plate, was it? Or something like that?
That was it.
I thought I might put his runner in each one in a, I don't know, Lucky 31 or something.
Yeah,
well, Marshborough, yes. John Bond, yes.
Yeah.
Joyeuse, entirely feasible.
Yeah. Oh, every chance, but Cheltenham is never that easy.
No.
You know, and you've all the short price favourites that are going to win. They won't all win. Hard to pick the ones that won't as such, but you know they won't all win. So, and JP knows that more than anyone because he's been there for years, you know, and you get your coughs off and quick enough at Cheltenham.
And on that note, those were this week's talking points.